Joining us tonight to take up these issues and more, former Donald Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone, political consultant. He's worked for Presidents Nixon, Reagan, covered conventions for the past, well, quite a few decades. Roger, great to have you with us. Fox News radio talk show host, author of Godless America, Todd Starnes. Todd, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Luke.
Roger, let me start with you. There's no question. The establishment is going to fight Donald Trump all the way through the convention, that while at the same time managing the rules of that convention, running that convention. What do you think their prospects are for success?
Well, first of all, nothing leaks like a secret meeting in Washington, D.C., but I think the plotters may find that trying to stop Trump is like stepping in front of a hurtling freight train. Clearly, the time to stop Trump, if you were interested in that, was in the primaries, but the voters overwhelmingly have now spoken. What you have, though, is panic among the lobbyist class and the purists in the Republican Party. And therefore, I think there are immediate imperatives to try to stall Trump just short of the magic number, 1237, on the first ballot. Then it would be much easier to try to steal the nomination by throwing out voters who voted in primaries that allow votes from Democrats and independents, by ending the binding of delegates, as the National Committeeman from North Dakota has proposed, and by stacking the delegations that are supposed to contain Trump delegates, Texas, for example, with voters who are not loyal to Donald Trump, on the hopes that on a second ballot they could break for some establishment white knight.
The essential reality here for Donald Trump is that the convention that he will be in is being run by the very people who are trying to destroy his candidacy. The other reality in it is that they are in charge of the rules that will be set in the weeks, the 2 weeks, week to 2 weeks leading up to that convention, and it's just going to depend on how much shame they have. Todd, in terms of now Trump is again, here comes the Pope again. It's not coincidental. The attacks on him by 2 former Mexican presidents and a sitting president of Mexico is not coincidental. This is becoming very suspiciously a coordinated round of attacks from nearly every quarter on Donald Trump.
Oh, I have no doubt about that, Lou. And quite frankly, Mr. Trump is not a Catholic. He's a Protestant, so I'm sure he's not all that concerned what the Pope has to say, quite frankly. But I
voters are.
But they weren't all that concerned in South Carolina. Well, remember what happened there.
I'm just saying to you, Catholic voters will be concerned what the Pope is saying.
Well, that's an interesting concept, because I suspect that most Catholics, I think, are more conservative than the Pope is. When you look at some of the edicts that have been coming up from Vatican City. But I can tell you this. What concerns me is that you've got all of these forces going after Donald Trump. And quite frankly, I think that those forces, the GOP establishment, hate Ted Cruz more than they hate Donald Trump.
Well, the Trump people would tell you that's an appropriate reaction. The Cruz people would say, why him? You have, the only remaining conservative, as Marco Rubio reminded us, and Cruz and Donald Trump. Cruz cannot get to those numbers. Do you see an alliance being formed, a brokered arrangement between the two in whatever form, that is Senator Cruz and Donald Trump?
Well, that could possibly.
As the most likely outcome.
Possibly, but again, the issue here is what's going to happen. You had the conservatives meeting in Washington today. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But that's a bit of
that's a small group of people who, frankly, are not they're not exactly at the front of the spear when it comes to the establishment. Right?
True, but they wield enough power, Lou, that quite frankly, that hashtag Never Trump could end up being Hillary 2016 hashtag.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Roger. I can't make sense of what those conservatives meeting in Washington are trying to accomplish, other than try to lead the party over a very high cliff.
Yeah, it's foolish. They're trying to form the firing squad in a circle. Look, Trump is bringing millions of new people to the Republican Party. Democrats, independents, millennials, people who've stopped voting because they think the system is rigged against the average man. And the Republican Party risks all of that. I'm tired of seeing Ted Cruz keep saying Donald Trump can't win a general election. In fact, Donald Trump's the only one who, in my opinion, can win a general election. He's demonstrated this in the enormous crossover votes in places like Michigan. So this is suicidal, and I don't think in the end that it will work, because the outrage of those who have voted for Trump in the primaries overwhelmingly would be palpable. On the other hand, very sadly, there are those in the Republican establishment, mostly lobbyists and some purists, who would actually rather have Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump. Frankly, that is pathetic.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget in all of this, Todd, you know, the very establishment that is managing the convention, managing the rules, has also managed the last 2 election cycles that have been utter disasters for the Republican Party. And they are the very same people in the person of the Capitol Hill leadership, the House and the Senate, who presided over a disaster for this middle class working men and women and their families. And they're not going to be very popular no matter what they do.
Lou, year after year after year, the American working man has been screwed, quite frankly, by these establishment Republicans. I wrote a column, and quite frankly, Lou, they're mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore.
Well, one can understand the first part of it and hope for the second part. Thanks so much, Todd. Roger Stone, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou.